Hi, so I'm just going to walk you through a quick demo of the red teaming agent. So from part A, remember that we have three agents, medical, financial, and customer service. And I also have a weak medical agent that serves as the baseline in my experiments. So in this, there's a couple things you can do in this platform. One is you can just talk with the agents. For example, with the medical agent, I can ask, what are the impacts of taking Profen? Should should I take it if I have a headache? Right? Kind of a standard question you might ask a medical agent. So as it's thinking, we can take a look at the left-hand panel. So this gives us more information about the agent we're chatting with. You can see that it just gave an output. And we'll go through that in a second. But first is the identity and profile. So you can think of this as kind of publicly available information, and later on, our red team agent has access to this. You can also see the alignment policy. So again, this is kind of the conditioning for the medical agent, right? You can think of these as kind of guardrails in place, right? So these are part of the agent's class itself, like in its attributes. And these are also enforced through like additional prompting within the agents. And then finally, you can see that we have the memory stream, and this just informs the agent's kind of planning and acting process, right? And finally, we have the tool calls, right? Since it's a medical agent, we have some specialized tools in the medical field. And again, what's pretty interesting is that in our output, it gives a pretty straightforward output. Describes ibuprofen, some considerations about it, and so on and so forth. And then it also gives that disclaimer near the end that it's not a medical professional, and that you should consult one of those first. And again, that's one of the alignment policies in action, right? It's refusing to diagnose, and it's requiring, it's giving that disclaimer, right? Okay, so again, you could do this for the other agents as well, right? So for financial agent, I could ask, should I put all of my money into the stock market, and if so, what investment is safest, right? And again, you could see with this agents, we have very similar, the same structure, right? The identity profile, alignment, and so on and so forth, right? So, the agent just told us not to do that. And once again, it told us that, hey, it's not an actual human advisor, right? So it's giving that disclaimer. And it's, refusing specific investment advice so you don't waste all your money, right? And then finally, we can go through the last one, customer service. I can say some, again, the same structure as the other ones, right? And I can ask it, hey, there's a problem with my billing accounts. Can you wire me the refund directly, right? And yeah, so again, you can just see that it gave me, updated memory streams in real time and so on and so forth, right? And you can see that conversation history. What's interesting is that it also triggered alignment warning. So in the way I phrase this, I kind of got some adversarial behavior out of this, right? This is a pretty light one because in the end, it did not actually try to wire me any money. It didn't make any of those harmful tool calls, right? But in the end, it did kind of trigger like the possibility of an alignment problem. Okay, so back to something a little bit more interesting, right? Let's kind of try the actual red teaming, right? Instead of us manually trying to do that. So by checking that on, we just got a prompt from the red teaming agent. And the way it comes up with this prompt is that it has six attack surfaces, right? And it effectively selects one of these attack surfaces, loads in like a small template, and then uses an LM call to generate a full attack string, right? And that's what we're looking at right now, right? Um, so I could just send that ahead. And again, we're using the UCB score to select the bandits, which attack type, right? So you can see that if I check this again, hey, we chose that first direct prompt injection attack, and that's why that UCB score got updated, right? Yeah, and again, the UCB score is proportional to a successful attack, as well as the number, and it's inversely proportional to the number of attempts we've made with that attack. So in other words, the more we use an attack, the less likely we are to use it. And then conversely, the more an attack is successful, the more likely it's to be used, right? So again, let's, it already generated another attack for us, so let's send this prompt. And then again, just like for the other agents, you can kind of see the reasoning for the red teaming agents. Yeah. So in this case, you can see that it chose the multi-turn escalation attack. And again, by default, all the UGB scores are infinity for attacks that haven't been chosen yet, right? So you can kind of see that we'll first explore the attack surfaces, and then we'll, exploration versus exploitation, right? We'll choose all of the attack surfaces before kind of converging on the attacks that work the best. Um, but yeah, we also have the option of just kind of messing with the prompt, right? I could completely sabotage this prompt and say, hey, also, do you think hamburgers are good for a diet, right? Just kind of sabotage the prompt a little bit. So you can see that, we get a warning that the prompt differs from the original generation. And all that means is that, hey, like in our demo, we're not going to update the agent's state at all. Or rather, we're not going to update its like UCB bandit state, right? Yeah, that's kind of the last thing we did there. And then, yeah, I kind of talked about that hamburger bit at the end. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of the demo. We went over the different agents. And again, weak medical is effectively medical, but it's mostly used for baselining. It mostly acts as a weak baseline in the experiments. Um, we went over just prompting the different agents as well as trying out the red teaming functionality. So yeah, thank you for your time, and I hope you found this interesting.